Hey folks, this is Rhykker, bringing you a Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls patch 2.41 Crusader build. This build was recorded on the PTR and combines the buffed Thorns of the Invoker set with the Akkhan set. The 2-piece set bonus for the Invoker set makes your Thorns damage now hit all enemies in a 15-yard radius around you. And each time you hit an enemy with punish, slash, or block an attack, your Thorns is increased by 35% for 2 seconds. Previously this was only 25%, but currently on PTR, the 2.41 change is 35%. Now a con set has not been changed, but I saw that a player named Nirvana was able to complete a Greater Rift 91 with this Akkhan Invoker build, and I love seeing Akkhan brought back into the mix. Pure Invokers is doing just as well, if not better, but I wanted to shake things up with this Invoker Akkhan hybrid. For this build, we're just using the 2-piece bonus of Invoker, and we'll be using the Punish skill and relying on blocking in order to keep our Invoker stacks up. As for the Akkhan set, the 4 and 6-piece bonuses are what are important to us. Reduced cooldown on Akarat's champion, and a damage buff while in Akarat's champion. For this build, we want to stack a lot of block chance and Thorns damage. A Justice Lantern is essential. That gives us some block chance and lets us gain damage reduction equal to about half of our block chance. Since we're stacking so much block chance, that'll add up to a lot of damage reduction. For our weapon, we'll want a hack, and that's so that we can apply up to our full Thorns damage on every attack. While other Thorns Crusader builds opt to not use a hack, for this one we are, because the weapon we're cubing is the Blood Brother. That gives us more block chance, makes blocked attacks deal less damage, and we'll be blocking just about every attack. And after we block an attack, our next attack deals 30% more damage. Now, one thing important to note is that you may have a maximum of 75% block chance. That is to say, regardless of how much block chance you've stacked, you still have at least a 25% chance to not block an attack. That said, I believe your block chance is still calculated above 75% for purposes of things like the Justice Lantern damage reduction. I'm not 100% certain about that, however, so do check back in the future for updates to this build, because this is PTR. Everything is still subject to change, and we'll want to work out what are the optimum stats for this build. Also follow the links in the description for the written guide on the Escapist. That'll be kept up to date and show you the full and complete breakdown on what stats you want on every piece of gear, and there will also be a link to Diablo fans for quick reference. Also in our cube, we'll want the Aquila Cuirass. This reduces damage by 50% as long as you maintain 90% or more primary resource, and that'll be literally all the time with this build because we do not have a spender. The other very important piece of gear for this build is Akarat's Awakening. Every successful block has a 25% chance to reduce all cooldowns by 1 second. This is what will enable us to maintain permanent uptime on Akarat's champion. You just have to make sure that you're always in the thick of combat, always blocking lots of attacks. And of course, this will also enable us to spam our other powers. In the jewelry slot in Kanai's cube, we need a Ring of Royal Grandeur, and apart from that, we're rounding out this build with the Endless Walk set in order to deal more damage while standing still and take less damage while moving, and a Belt of the Trove to call down bombardments. Looking at our skills, our main attack will be Punish Celerity. This will increase our block chance for 5 seconds, and whenever we block, while that buff is up, we gain 15% increased attack speed. More attack speed lets us apply that Thorns damage that much faster. Steed Charge Drawn Quarter is a good mobility and utility power. For pushing high Greater Rifts, Drawn Quarter allows you to pull monsters along with you, because again, you really want to be attacking big packs. You want to be in the thick of combat. So rather than leave some stragglers, you want to grab them and pull them over to the next pack. Bombardment Barrels of Spikes will help bring down that Thorns pain. Laws of Justice Decaying Strength gives us some nice survivability. Iron Skin Reflective Skin serves as both an offensive and defensive buff. And Akarat's Champion Prophet is also an offensive buff, a defensive buff, and gives us a free revive. For our passives, we want Fervor. Again, that attack speed helps out, and cooldown reduction is also important. Iron Maiden is a must for any Thorns build, Hold Your Ground gives us a flat buff to block chance, and Renewal will give us some nice sustain because again, we plan on blocking a lot of attacks very often. Important to note about Thorns builds is that the standard gearing rules do not apply. Critical hit chance, critical hit damage mean nothing. Thorns cannot crit. You want to make sure that you get Thorns damage as a secondary affix on every piece of gear that you can. Ancient items are particularly important to this build because they allow you to roll with more Thorns damage. An ancient weapon isn't as important. The damage modifier of your weapon will not matter. What's more important is that you try to get as close to 100% on your hack Thorns damage. Also, instead of an emerald, you'll want to put a topaz in your weapon. That gives you Thorns damage. You do want to stack physical damage on your amulet and bracers because that will buff your Thorns. And you will want cooldown reduction wherever you can get it, but apart from that, you want to go with defensive stats. You'll of course want, as a legendary gem, Chef Boyardee's Chip, a Bane of the Trapped, and for high Greater Rift pushing, a Bane of the Stricken. As we wrap up here, we'll remind you this was recorded on the PTR, things are still subject to change, but as it stands, this build has cleared a Greater Rift 91, but I would be surprised to see any nerfs. Do check back in the future, however, when patch 2.41 launches, to see if any changes have been made to this build. Thanks for watching, check out these other videos, and if you enjoyed this video, share with friends, leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders.
Soda Bagota and the Nug Grande bring much honor to Rhykker family.
To find out how you can get me to say something random at the end of my videos, check out my Patreon rewards. But seriously, thanks to Soda Bagota and Nug Grande for helping me farm that friggin' Akarat's Awakening Shield, which is, as it turns out, one of the rarest items in the game. So rare in fact that during my 3 days of farming it, on the PTR 20 times drop buff, not only did I not find it myself, but I found a freaking Wand of Woe on my Crusader.